Make sure to mute the computer before we hop on the show here. Welcome. It is about 8:07, 8:08, 8:11. The BrockCast is back. We are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and it is great to be back. The second show of 2020. We are rocking and rolling, rocked and loaded for the rest of the year. We are going to have a great time tonight talking about the issues and things that matter most to everybody when it comes to politics, government, and other issues, whether it's at City Hall in San Antonio, if it's in Austin, at the Texas Capitol, or if it's in Washington, D.C. We are going to have the conversations that matter most to residents, to voters, just to taxpayers in general. I always like to say, as long as you have the right information, right? As long as you ask the questions and we talk about things, then you can turn around and make the vote that matters most to you and your family. And then it's important to always have the debate. I think it's always important to put on the table what you really believe, the things you think, what matters most, that you say it. And especially in today's world when we're chock full of snowflakes and people who get their feelings hurt over just simply disagreeing. I was watching a football game last night. By the way, LSU, go Tigers. Huge win last night for the college football playoff national championship. I'll get to that in a second. But poor Vince Vaughn was shaking the president's hand last night and got vilified for being a kind human being to the president of the United States. So tonight, as always, if you've got something to say or you think it, you want to put it out there, let us know. Share it with your friends and family. Like, share this page, push it out. One of the things we want to do for 2020, and I think it's huge and important, is to grow this opportunity in this podcast. And we're coming into an election season, and it matters now more than ever, right? We're going to have a primary vote March 3rd here. Voting starts February 18th. 2020 is going to be a huge political year. Come November, first Tuesday, we're going to have a new president, possibly the same. Maybe even a new one, you never know. So this year is going to be huge when it comes to politics and governance. And we at the BrockCast are going to take this show on the road. We're going to go out in the community and do things that really matter to you and your neighborhood. And the things I always say that I enjoyed most about being an elected official or being in politics was dealing with people. And trust me, I came off a tough campaign this year, and 49% of the city votes for me, but 51% didn't, and I get that. So we all disagree or we're different, we think different. That's okay, man. Say it, come on the show, and let's have a good conversation about it, because I never shy away from the big argument, the big idea, and it's all about you, the voter, the resident, the taxpayer, and if you're going to make votes and decisions and be an elected official, or you're going to run for office, the best you can do is stand before the people and be heard, make an argument. And then the best that each one of us can do after that is to part ways as best we can as friends, right? A lot of this isn't personal. It's just about what we want for our community and city. And that's why the BrockCast is going to push information out as much as we can, in spite of hurting people's feelings. Antonio is special. In spite of all of our arguments and differences, I still think this is one of the greatest places to live on the planet. And it's up to us, obviously, as citizens, residents, and voters to get informed and ask the questions. So thank you for joining us. As always, I want to thank the team, Saulo Rodriguez. I always say, hey, if you need a podcast for any particular reason, you just want to start a podcast, I always like to say, man, if you get in trouble and you get locked up and they haul you in, you got to have a friend to get you out. And AAA Garcia Bail Bonds will do it. Now, I warn you about Louis Garcia. I got to give you a heads up. He's a Packers fan, so don't call in. Okay, put the camera back on me real quick here. We got to get a little space time. Look back to the camera. I got to warn you. I got to warn you. If you're in the paddy wagon, I don't even know if they call that anymore. They called it paddy wagon back in the 1920s. If you are, for some reason, in trouble with the law, and you're down at the Bexar County jail system, don't call Louis Garcia, AAA Garcia Bail Bonds, and say you love Dak Prescott. You're not getting out of jail that night. So I'm just warning you right now. You better call and tell him Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are the greatest football team this country's ever seen. They're about to win the Super Bowl here. So hopefully they'll make it there and do great work. And I'm pretty sure you'll get a discount just alone for saying that. So Louis, we appreciate you, brother. We love you. Family-owned business here in San Antonio. They'll take care of you. And my friend Tyler Hall, obviously with Speedy Salt, he also kicks in and sponsors us with his time. If you got a water softener, Tyler Hall knows when you need salt before you know you need salt. That's why I love this guy. So he's got a system and process in place to take care of you. He'll deliver it to your house personally. Always keep an eye out for my man Tyler at Speedy Salt. He helps us on the show, but he's also a huge sponsor, so we appreciate it. As always, we like to start with some fun stuff. Last week, we wanted to start with some things, but there was a little skirmish going on with Iran. I don't know, they were attempting to lob bombs into Iraq, and they weren't having much success with it. But they attempted to start World War III last week, and they obviously backed down because they missed. But we had to lay off a few things that I wanted to make light of in 2019 into 2020. So there's two things I want to bring back because I think it's cool. It matters. One is, which video do we have up first? Is it Ricky Gervais? So look, this is already well past the news, but I couldn't show it last week and I was heartbroken. We all know that Ricky Gervais went on the Golden Globes and absolutely lit up Hollywood, like let them have it. So let's play this tape so you can see it. I think this speaks volumes about Hollywood and politics. Let it go.
Meanwhile, here's another view from one of our cameras. There was a fireworks hotline set
You know
up
what?
for the new year.
Remember, everybody's entitled to one error. Can you put me up Gervais? Put me up Gervais.
With a morning show, a superb drama, a superb drama about the importance of dignity and doing the right thing, made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So, well, you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent. If you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and... It's already 3 hours
Look at all that. There it is. I had to show it. I wanted to show it last week because it was beautiful. It was a thing of beauty to watch. I watched it live. I don't know why, but at that one moment I knew it was Ricky Gervais and I had to watch it. He won't be hosting next year, but I think it's awesome. You know, he sat there and told it like it was, and it was absolutely amazing, especially to see their faces in horror. I do expect, of course, Ricky Gervais to get Epstein in the next month. Or Hillary Clinton's going to put a hit on him. One or the other is going to happen, and this thing is not going to go well for Ricky Gervais, but he killed it right now. Absolutely fantastic. That was super cool. And then I wanted to always show, because every year this happens in San Antonio, the city of San Antonio, man, they come out and they tell you, you better not pop those firecrackers inside 1604. Fireworks are not allowed in the city of San Antonio. You better not, citizens. You better not light those firecrackers, those sparklers, those little snakes. Remember those little snakes we used to put on the ground in like the 1960s? Yeah, when I was a kid, there were little tiny snakes that leave the mark on the ground and Grandpa would get mad. So, do not light your fireworks. Call the hotline. And then what happened?
Meanwhile, here's another view from one of our cameras. There was a fireworks hotline set up for the New Year's holiday. And the San Antonio Fire Department says the hotline answered 1,009 calls. No word yet on if any citations were handed out. But as we've reported, using fireworks in the city of San Antonio limits can carry a fine of up to...
Okay, I'm sorry. It's a little sarcastic, and I can appreciate that. And 1,009 calls, and absolutely nobody arrested or fined for fireworks. But how dare you tell us we can't light fireworks, San Antonio? Figure it out. It's wrong. I will tell you, I do get concerned about dogs, and obviously, the most important thing is PTSD stuff. Obviously with our wounded warriors and vets and stuff like that. So we do have to be cognizant of that, especially in neighborhoods. And our pets don't like the fireworks either. However, that's San Antonio, my friends. That was 2019, at the end of the year. You go back 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015. Every year it looks like, well, you know, World War III over the San Antonio skyline. So congratulations, once again, a failed project at the city's fireworks hotline. Much appreciated. Okay, and another thing is, don't forget, last week we announced we're doing the World War II African-American Veterans World War II Warrior Project. So we filmed one veteran about 2 weeks ago, Mr. Willie Foster, 98-year-old World War II veteran. We're out looking for more. As of last week, I actually received a couple of emails from listeners that are saying, hey man, I know a veteran. One of them knew a Tuskegee Airman in San Antonio. We got to find these people and record their stories. And even over the course of a week, even though we're focusing at Fred Brock Post and the African American community, right? This is the African American World War II Warrior Project, because we want to recognize and identify in that group, right? And we started over at Fred Brock, is that we realize it's also a lot larger than that too. And there are so many World War II veterans in San Antonio. And folks, we don't have a lot of time left with these men. One of them I talked to last week joined the service when he was 15 years old. 15 years old. He went in 1945, and we want him to come on and do an interview. And we're trying, but 90 years old, right? Willie Foster, 98. There's a couple of men we talked to that were 100. We got to record these stories for the future, for our community, for our children and grandchildren. And these men have great-great-grandchildren, and we got to help put these stories and encapsulate them. This is a project Salo, myself, my wife, the team are doing just because it's a gift to the community. So we want your help. Help us find veterans, World War II, any veteran, shoot us our way. We appreciate it. We're going to get rocking and rolling on that. And then finally, before we get into some stuff, I do want to put a little public service announcement out there. Can we put up the graphic? They've got a couple of graphics right there. I think it's the Sculley graphic. Aha, okay. I posted this one. I want to put this public service announcement out there. I am hearing rumors across the board. Sculley is attending certain city meetings, and she's in the mix. And it could be potentially in this item, show the next graphic right there, that she is poking around in asking questions about. It's the one pre-K for SA, Gilbert Garcia. There it is. Pre-K for SA's future will rest with 2020 election voters. Look, I've heard from about 3 or 4 different sources. Sculley's involved in this election coming up in 2020, and she's attending meetings. So I thought we moved on past that city manager, and we're in the tenure reign of Eric Walsh now. But what's she doing? So I'm going to find out about that. I don't know if we're going to do open records requests or how we're going to figure out what's going on, but something's not right about this. Pre-K for SA is up for a vote. It's going to be a huge item. We're going to do a show on Pre-K for SA. And that mainly is to find out, okay, you're voting on a reauthorization of $40 million of sales tax money going to Pre-K for SA every year. They're going to be reevaluated, and then the public gets to vote in 2020 on whether or not to reauthorize the 1/8 cent sales tax. So you will have a choice this year to vote for $40 million for another 8 years for pre-K voters. And I've heard this tidbit. They don't want the vote anywhere near anything Ron Nirenberg does, because the guy has the Midas touch of turning everything he touches turns to gold, like useless gold. Like I'm talking cubic zirconia. He turns it, what do they call that gold, the fake gold? Yeah. It's got a fool's gold, right? Anything Ron Nirenberg touches turns to fool's gold. So they're going to go for a public vote. Looks like it could be May, could be November, but they don't want to be anywhere near Pre-K for SA, anywhere near Ron Nirenberg. And I don't blame him in his Connect SA project, right? We'll talk about that boondoggle later. But Pre-K for SA is $40 million. It's up for a reauthorization vote. And anytime, right, that kind of money comes to the city, the citizens to make their call, their vote, we got to get educated on it. So be prepared for a show that we're going to talk about 2 things this next month. We're going to talk about VIA, and we're going to dig into that. A story was printed today that they have ridership issues, but they're asking for more money. We're going to talk about VIA and what that means for the future, but it also is Pre-K for SA. Be prepared on that one. I just suspect there could be an election coming as early as May if we want to reauthorize this $40 million project. It barely passed itself back in, well, it was 8 years ago. It's been 8 years. It passed like a 52, 53%. So it's had some success. It's had some opportunities to do better. And we're going to dig into it and find out what that really means and put the facts on the table for you. But I wanted to let you know, rumors are flying. Sculley's involved in this. She's attending meetings. She's there with the mayor's team. What does that mean? I had that picture up about her and Ron Nirenberg because, frankly, Ron Nirenberg can't get away from Sculley. Can't do the job without her if she's back attending meetings again. I don't think that says very much for why the city moved on. You know, we had votes on that. Everything was there. But beware, citizens. Sculley's back in the mix. Let's see what she's up to and what she's got her hands on. We've got to be concerned about Pre-K for SA. More knowledge coming on that. So, all right. Let's see here. Let me get my glasses on. Ooh, man, I look 10 times smarter. Now we need to start talking about math.
Will you host Miss Alma Lynch running for District 23?
Oh, man, we'll host anybody. Good point. Thank you for that, Tyler. Keep looking through those notes. So Tyler's going to shout some of these comments to me because I can't do them all at once. And we're about to bring on our guest, Jose Trevino. But anybody's welcomed on the BrockCast. Bring it. Come on the show. Man, Julian Castro can sit right here if he wants to sit here and talk about the future of San Antonio. I will debate anybody about any issue at any time. Plus, if you want to come on, you're a candidate, Democrat, liberal, progressive, Republican, conservative, libertarian, you name it. Come on the show. Let's have a conversation. Give you the platform and an opportunity to talk, and we'll get it done. And you're all welcome. So everybody's welcome on the show. Reach out to us. Just hit us on the Facebook, direct message, and we'll get you scheduled, and we'll get it happening. So we got to get to Jose Trevino. He's been sitting here patiently, man. Scan out. Man, I didn't realize how big my head looked in the picture. Jose Trevino for Bexar County Sheriff at TrevinoforSheriff.com. Let's bring him up and show him. Here he is with me, Matt. You have been waiting patiently as I've railed against the machine for, well, we were a little bit late, so that's why. Okay, we're only 15 minutes into the show. I'm sorry. I thought maybe I was 30 minutes late here. I'm like, come on, man. And by the way, Silence Do Good, he just messaged us. Silence Do Good. There's a lot of names, fake Facebook profiles out there of people who are upset at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. But check it out. We are live with Jose Trevino, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity to talk about who's running for office and who's running for the Bexar County Sheriff's position here in San Antonio. Jose, welcome to the show, my man. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know why anybody would run for office. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I've been there. But it's tough, man. It's a lot of work putting your name on a ballot.
It is.
And it's a exercise in public shaming as well, because everybody wants to win. They're willing to say and do anything. So I want to start for the first minute, 2 minutes. I want you to tell us who you are, why you're in the race, and what it means to you, why you want to be the Bexar County Sheriff, and what it means to you as a law enforcement professional. Just that, and then we'll get into your resume afterwards and who you are. We'll talk resume, but for right now, why you in it, and what in the world is wrong with you for putting your name on a ballot?
Well, it's my first time. Once again, my name is Jose Trevino. It's my first time putting my name on the ballot, running for office. I've been a public servant going on 30 years. And yes, I know you said, hold off on the resume, but yeah, 30 years. And why am I doing this? We hear it in the news, and it's obvious every day. And morale is low. And so from what I hear from some of the people, it's at an all-time low. And I'm getting called to action, and that's what I'm about. That's what makes me tick. And I want to fix the sheriff's office, for lack of better words. It starts with leadership, and we're obviously low on personnel, so that's going to be one of my priorities as well. Balance the budget and do some staff analysis and personnel allocation.
All right, okay, so look, I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit about the current condition, right? You're like morale, and one of the things I think that matters that we don't think about when it comes to law enforcement is their morale. Because oftentimes we think about the work they do, it's tough work and we get it. They show up every day. People don't recognize the behind the scenes work of first responders, like the training that's happening. I mean, they may see them at a moment when there's a call in, or somebody has to make a dispatch and you need a police officer or firefighter there. We get that they show up at that one moment. But there is a ton of other work going on, right? So when you talk about the morale piece, I want to talk about your resume in a second, but what does the morale matter to law enforcement? Walk us through what happens when a peace officer, when their morale is down, when they're not happy with their job. How does that affect them when the hours they work and everything? Talk about morale, because I think it's huge and important that we remember they got to like their jobs too.
Well, and most of them, we love our job. We love what we do. We're passionate about what we do. But if we feel unappreciated, and I'm speaking for everyone in law enforcement and in any career field, if you feel unappreciated, you're not going to perform well. And our job is public safety. And if we lack on public safety because of the way we're treated, then that's not good for the agency, and that's not good for the public.
Yeah, and when you're talking about being treated, I'm assuming, just to clarify, you're talking about from the leadership, right?
From the leadership, it's when you feel unappreciated.
Yeah, and any organization I've ever worked in, I've worked for somebody, and if people don't recognize what you're doing, and police officers, by the way, sheriffs, constables, they're not just working a 40-hour week, right? So there's issues when it comes to overtime. There's officers, and here's the thing, the beauty about it that I've noticed over the years is that we have staffing issues at both the Bexar County Sheriff's Office and SAPD. And in the staffing issues, what they do is oftentimes police officers will work overtime, sheriffs will work overtime, mandatory at the sheriff's department, right? So they'll work the overtime, and then they're working so many hours, constant, and it's not an easy job. Describe what it means as a law enforcement perspective, some of the things you see on the job. And how that affects you over the years. How many years you got on?
This March will be 30 years.
30 years. Nobody stays at any job 30 years, ever. So you got 30 years on the job. Congratulations. So we'll talk about what you did in that in a second, but talk about the things you've seen and how that affects your job, your mental state. Because I got to imagine as a law enforcement official, you have seen things that you don't talk to your family about.
No, you do not. There's some things that you really don't want to expose them to. For example, in the jail, when you work in the jail, you're in that environment for at least 8 hours. Well, right now you're looking at 16 hours in in some situations. If you're working your 40 plus another 2 overtime shifts per week, and that's a long time being in that environment. When I started, it was a culture shock for me, okay? But luckily the training prepared me for that, and that's crucial. You know, training is your gateway to any agency. So that's just at the jail. You know, you're in this environment, a negative environment. And you never, when all goes well at the jail, you never hear about it. Only the negative things. In terms of a patrol officer, you meet, like one chief told me when I started patrol, you're gonna encounter the best and you're gonna encounter the worst. But you treat everybody with respect. So there's that balance that you have to have. And it's a psychological balance that you have, and then you take that home. So when it's compounded, stressors of the job, stressors at home, a man's gonna break.
Yeah, yeah. And that, you know, and I've heard before other leaders, like elected officials, and this, of course, my experience with the San Antonio Police Department, but a lot of times people will say, oh, well, hey, man, they're working extra overtime hours. Good for them. They're making more money. They could buy a boat, you know, and
right.
Why are they complaining? You know, they've got all this extra cash coming their way. Man, a person can only take so much when it comes to overtime, and the workplace matters, and I couldn't imagine. I mean, I think about the jail administration, I mean, working in that environment. I never actually thought about it till you mentioned it, but working in that environment consistently, 8 to 10 to 16 hours a day in the jail has got to work your mind.
Right.
Because you're right, on your best day, you're still working in a jail.
That's right.
Right? And it's got to be difficult. So run down from an experience perspective what you've done. Just kind of give us a 30-year career. I don't have that long to describe the length of that career, but talk to us and tell us what you've done kind of chronologically, what your experience is at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office.
At the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, I started working at the jail as a detention officer, and 3 years later, I transferred to patrol. Under a rigorous testing process that was just initiated by back then Sheriff Ralph Lopez. And I worked DWI traffic enforcement, I worked as a bailiff, promoted to detective, worked various investigations. I promoted to sergeant, and I was a sergeant in patrol, the DWI traffic safety unit, internal affairs, and in homicide and traffic investigations. Then I promoted to lieutenant, and I was a lieutenant in DWI Traffic Enforcement Unit, Traffic Safety Unit, and Internal Affairs, and then major crimes, crimes against persons, and then my last few years at the Sheriff's Office prior to retirement, it was Internal Affairs.
All right.
Before I went to the Attorney General's office.
Holy cow, okay, that's a resume. You're right, we're not gonna get through that in the entire show. So let me pick and choose a couple things. I think with what you've done across the board, and somebody did chime in a second ago and said it was 3 mandatory overtimes a week. I don't know about that. Somebody did post that it was 3, which is even worse if it's changed.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, so from 2 to 3, I mean, it didn't matter. If it's mandatory overtime going on, and I think even I think the sheriff has even requested several $1 million of overtime.
Last I heard, I think last week it was another $2.5 million. So we're like $6 million in this budget year.
$6 million in this budget cycle of overtime dollars.
Right. And it was $10 million last year.
It was $10 million last year?
Yes.
Oh, holy cow. All right, so you're getting into a race here. You're challenging an incumbent. You're running as on the Democratic primary side. So voting starts February 18th. Election day is March 3rd. So what is your goal, man? Like, help me understand. You got in this race. We know why. But talk to us about, like, you win that job, right? You become the Bexar County Sheriff. Day one, what's 2 or 3 things you're going to knock out there? I mean, look, be honest, man. We want to know what really pisses you off, too, about the current sheriff's, the state of the current department. So let us know. Tell us what you think needs to be fixed and what your goals would be day one.
Obviously, the manpower shortage. So we need a staff analysis. I think we all can do the staff analysis from today, but a thorough data analysis. And then personnel allocation. The positions need to be allocated in the most essential functions of the job. And after that, it's going to be an effective recruitment method. If you, what's insanity? You keep doing the same thing over and over and expect different results.
How short is the department? Do you have any idea roughly?
I heard roughly last week it was 200 in detention, 200 short.
Okay.
So we need effective recruitment. If we keep doing the same thing over and over, obviously we're not hiring the people. They're applying, but they're not getting hired. So well, I'm going to take a look at that as well. And then the budget as well. I need to take control of that budget.
Yeah, it's a, So it's a very difficult piece. And when you're talking about manpower shortages and I think it's compounding itself across the country when you're talking about people wanting to be police officers or law enforcement or sheriffs or constables. They want to do the job, but I think oftentimes they shy away from it just because of the political climate and the things that have been affecting the job over the last several years. It's not, I'm not saying it's ever fun to be a police officer. I don't know, I've never been one. I've worked around a lot of them, right, or a law enforcement official. I'm sure some days are terrible and some days are great, and it's tough,
a great
right?
career.
You don't ever see anybody on their best day. You encounter people on their worst day, right? That's the life of the law enforcement official. But you said it's a great career. So how are we going to convince people to get back to law enforcement and to do it again? To be 200 short in the jails, the jail administration, we already said, tough job.
Right.
So what do you think are some recruitment and retention? And I like you mentioned recruitment and retention because we haven't heard or talked a lot about that in the city or in the county. So when it comes to recruitment or retention, what are you selling about the job? Like, what do you think matters about, and you're sitting in front of somebody at the desk that wants to sign up. What are you telling them to sign the line to go to the Bexar County Sheriff's Office? What are you telling them to join up?
Well, number one, you hear the cliche of, do you want to make a difference in your community? Of course you want to make a difference. Everyone cares about their community. And, in talking in this campaign and my two sons, people want to make a difference. Millennials want to make a difference. People complain about how millennials this and millennials that. They want to actually make a difference. And if you want to make a positive difference in your community, serve your community, this is one of the best careers that we can have. It's an honorable job. It's a good brotherhood, sisterhood. And, like I said, they're applying. The people are applying. So they're interested in the field. So we need to take an objective approach in how we recruit people.
And I think that matters too from elected officials, right? You're talking about the budget, because it's tough. As a sheriff, you're not just law enforcement.
Right.
I mean, you're doing that too.
Right.
But you're also an administrator, and you're leading a department
Right.
with tens of millions of dollars in a budget that are hundreds of millions of dollars of a budget. Mm-hmm. So you're having to also be a leader, an administrator, a sheriff, law enforcement, and then you're having to take care of people who haven't been really very happy in the job for quite some time. So recruitment and retention matters, the budget matters. So you mentioned those three things. Have you ever thought about, like when you take that job, just kind of the weight of it? Because when I've noticed about law enforcement is you get very driven in the job. Like you're very focused, you know what you got to do, you go after it. But from a leadership perspective, you're not hands-on on the street anymore, right?
You should not be.
Right, you should not be,
right.
But you're in the budget. Like that's a tough skill set, and you got to do them all, and it's very challenging. So from a budget perspective, what are you going to dig in? What kind of stuff are you going to be looking for? Because if right now they're $10 million over budget from last year in 2019 or whatever it was, what are some of the things you think budget-wise that you'd want to focus on, and let folks know where you dig in at?
Well, I've written the budget reports as a division commander.
Oh, there you go.
So I've done that before, and so you prioritize. And yes, personnel is going to be your biggest cost. It's always your biggest cost. Your second biggest cost are capital improvements. When you build substations, when you renovate your facilities, and that's an important note as well. We have to renovate our facilities. We have to keep them modern in order for people to work comfortably. I worked in an office where downstairs when I was in CID commander, one time we had a situation where we had a plumbing leak where they clogged up the pipes and the pipes were rubbed above my office, and it wasn't pretty.
Okay, so infrastructure matters, right?
Yes, so it's very important. And so those are your biggest expenses. I've balanced the budget before. I've prepared those reports before. And I prioritize. And you have to keep an eye on it. You have to have foresight. And that's leadership. You have to expect the unexpected. When you are in police work, you're going to that call, you always expect the unexpected. As an administrator, you should do the same.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? Because we're running in partisan races. And I'm not, I'll be first to tell you, there are certain elected offices in San Antonio and Bexar County that it's tough to put a partisan tag on them, right? So you're running in the Democratic primary,
right.
And you're running against an incumbent. He's been in the job 4 years. He defeated the previous incumbent.
Right.
So it's never easy to run a race, especially against somebody who has the job already. I understood it. I've been there. and it's tough. You win some, you lose some. It's very difficult. So you're running against an incumbent. Have you thought about how difficult that is or what that looks like for you? Tell us a little bit about how you feel about the campaign and where it's at, where you're hoping it's going, and what kind of campaign you're on. I don't need to know your secret plans. All right? You don't need to divulge where you're going. We don't want Javier or Sharon or them to know. But just walk us through what the campaign means to you and what you're trying to put out there and the things you're trying to accomplish over the next 6 weeks. Short run left, man. You've got
just a few weeks.
Voting starts February 18th. So what are you focusing on in your campaign?
It's a boots on the ground. I am myself. I am presenting myself as I am, with honesty, as the most qualified, with the most experience, not just on the operational level, but the administrative level, and being fiscally responsible and telling people this. And they appreciate that when you tell them that. And it's boots on the ground, grassroots, and just communicating with the people like I've always done for the last 30 years.
Yeah, and that's not and look, I have mad respect for anybody that laces it up and puts a badge on and holds the line. I have seen the difficulty of that personally when working with police officers and with the San Antonio Police Department, whether it's been on a ride-along or seeing them in action. If you do not, you wonder why it's such an important job. You need to spend some time. They'll take you out on ride-alongs. You can spend time with sheriffs. You can spend time with constables. You can spend time with the SAPD and just see what their day looks like. And I do want to just emphasize the things you said at the beginning about morale, too. It matters that we don't have officers and sheriffs and constables that are burned out. You can't expect them to work 80 hours and to maintain a high level of force readiness. Like, it just doesn't work that way. And we've got to tackle the morale issues and the things that matter most to the men and women who lace it up, right? Who put the badge on. So I really hope you focus on that, because I think it matters that they show up to the job appreciated. If I look at the list of things that matter most, that's one of the things that at the top. And
that's one of my biggest priorities is taking care of the personnel, make them feel appreciated, and they'll serve the public well. We have good troops there.
Yeah, so, all right, so you're going to get at it day one. We know what you're going after. You're going after the budget, you're going after morale, you're going after these other things. But I do want to wrap up with a couple of questions about what always makes the news, So talk to us about jail administration. You've got experience in there, too. So talk to us about how you handle jail administration, because some of that is training on being a jail administrator. I would like you to address that. Some folks are talking a lot about their different training requirements and things about being a jail administrator. You can hire outside and outsource it. That's been done before in the past. You can handle it in-house. You can appoint the right person, hire the right person. So talk to us about how you deal with the jail, because there seems to be more than one person walking out of the jail. Like it's not a get out of jail free. Well, maybe it is a get out of jail free card, right? At Bear County. But we don't want that, right? Public safety matters. It's job one of any elected official. So walk us through a little bit about the jail administration piece and how you would focus on that. I think it's huge and important, and it matters.
It's very important. And people have asked me, who are you going to hire to run your jail or what have you? I don't know, but I can tell you what I'm going to hire. It's the person that's the most qualified, not just for the jail, for all the positions. And we're going to start from the sheriff, the most qualified person with the most experience, institutional experience from within, starting from detention all the way to administration. So it's about hiring the right person with the qualifications.
How the heck? Help us understand. How does somebody walk the heck out of the jail? Like, what's the breakdown there? Is it process? Is it the way the system's created? I don't know. Help us understand a little bit about how you're going to dig into those issues, because it's all over the news. And look, the news holds no holds barred right now. They're coming after every law enforcement. Right. They've got broken blue on KSAT, right, where they're attacking San Antonio Police Department officers, like every job. And I'll tell you this, and I respect some members of the media, but what you have to know is that law enforcement's a tough job, and just like any career, there are bad apples.
Right.
There are bad apples in any career. So when you look at how many people, men and women both, that are actually law enforcement officials that are doing bad things, it is less than 1%. Like it's minuscule.
Right.
It just always makes the news. And like the current Bear County Sheriff's Office, people walking out of the jail was making the news a lot. So what happens in that? I'm just curious, how can that possibly happen, and what are you going to do to combat those things? Because it matters to the citizens. You lock them up, they need to stay there. So how does one walk out of the jail?
When I worked in booking,
With being as kind, we don't need to roll names.
Yeah, no,
we don't need to roll
we
names.
won't.
We're just curious how the process works.
When I worked in booking, I never saw that happen, but in the times that I worked in the jail. But like I said it several months ago during an interview, it is a systemic problem. You have people officers who are working the release, and they're probably tired. If you're looking at this, because after 16 hours, it's the same piece of paper that you're looking at. And some of them, and not their fault, but they're being put in a position set up for failure. So if you lack training, and yes, of course we've heard Booking 101, and that should have been done 3 years ago.
But they're on the job 16 hours. They're
Correct.
working
double shifts.
Okay.
For several days, you're going to get tired, and you're going to make mistakes. And if you have people who have perhaps never worked that, and you're setting them up for failure.
So I think that's a very good point, and we'll wrap. I'm going to give you a minute or two to wrap up here in a second, but I want to reiterate those points because I think it's huge for, any law enforcement office, but at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, let's highlight what you just said. And I think it's very key to say set up for failure. And those are powerful words when you're thinking about putting people in an opportunity to be successful. And success is if you're the mortgage shop and you're in the bank and being set up with success means one thing. But set up for success in law enforcement could be the difference between life and death.
That's right.
You're not going to die working, a mortgage, that I've done professionally. I've been a mortgage banker my career. I'm not going to lose my life typing on a computer or cause somebody else the opportunity to get hurt doing that kind of job. And I'm okay with that because the law enforcement job's special, right? It's completely special. It's different. So set up for success, and then the training and education I think matters, because if they get out of that and people are walking out, if you're working a 16-hour day anywhere, you're toast. I don't know about you, but about hour 10 or 12, I've worked those jobs before. I used to be in the military, and 12 hours in, we were getting ready to shut it down. 16 hours in, we were falling asleep.
Right.
And that was in the United States military. You can imagine, you go the distance and you're on adrenaline at that point. You're just functioning to get through the last shift, and it's all you can. If you're doing it continually, it's trouble. So great points on morale, great points on education and systemic change. So look, it's big stuff, man. Bexar County Sheriff's Office, a lot of people in that race. So Jose Trevino is running for Bexar County Sheriff on the Democratic side, and his website is trevinoforsheriff.com. What's the Facebook page?
At Trevino for Sheriff.
At Trevino for Sheriff on the Facebook page. Look, I've always said this 100 times. Give a guy a good look. Give her a good look. Sharon Rodriguez is on the show. Willie Ning on the Republican side has come on. Everybody's talking and trying to earn a vote. Right, we've got 2 separate primaries starting on February 18th. Voting begins. It is important for you to get educated and understand. I'm just asking, go look at Jose Trevino. He's giving you a snapshot of who he is tonight. He's going to wrap up here in a minute and close it out. We're all going to watch the 2-minute elevator close out here. It's on. Pressure's going to be on you in a second. But we've seen a little snapshot in there, but go dig into it and find out what these folks stand for. It's huge. You got Javier Salazar, the incumbent. This is a 4-year job. It was a Republican, Susan Pamerlo, before that. Then we had Javier Salazar, and now we're coming back again with another opportunity to reelect or elect the next Bexar County Sheriff. Walk us out, close us out with 2 minutes, a minute or so on what you're going to do to earn the job. And then, God forbid you get it. No, I'm just kidding. You win, right? Which I would be totally jealous of anybody who wins. You win it, you get in there, walk us and close us out with your ideas and why you love what you do.
I love what I do. If you're tired of your taxpayers' dollars being wasted, if you're tired of hearing negative things on the news every day about the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, I want to restore the integrity, the pride that the Bexar County Sheriff's Office has, and how we can serve you better. If you want qualified, experienced leadership, Jose Trevino for Sheriff. I
got to tell you, we've had probably a dozen candidates come on the show, and I say, do it in a minute, and they don't take a minute. They're like 5 minutes. Man, you got your elevator speech down pat. So thank you. That was perfect. I love it. Said restore trust and integrity. Man, you're all over it. Thank you for that. It's succinct and to the point. I appreciate you very much. And thank you for your service, period, man.
It's my pleasure.
I love being the #1 advocate I can for police officers and firefighters, man. I will do it all day long. It doesn't matter. I stand up for them 100%, as I think most of our community does.
We do.
There are some knuckleheads at City Hall or at the Commissioner's Court or wherever that don't possibly adhere to the same belief, but most of us do. This city does. We love our first responders, and we're thankful for what you do. So wishing you the best of luck.
Stephen Patty asked, when did you work in booking? They want to know when you worked in booking.
During, it was off and on. I mostly work in the units, but they used to rotate us around between 1990 and 1993.
Hey, man, I was graduating from high school right then, man. I was at John Jay. Well, actually, I graduated from John Jay at that point. I just had to do that to you because it was, I poked a little fun at you, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, thank you.
Man. Thank you very much.
My
All
honor.
right. Okay. Put the logo up one more time for him. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jose Trevino, for your time and energy. All right, let's get on to some interesting stuff because I have a couple of more segments I want to hit before we wrap up the show. We'll do it right now with On Deck at City Hall. So we have a little logo for that too, right? Then we have an On Deck at City Hall logo. Look at me. Super smart. Man, is my face crooked? What's going on there? Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on a second here. I've had a little too much. Okay, so there we go. All right, so On Deck at City Hall, right? Learn about the upcoming issues in City Hall politics and policy. I want to go down a couple of items of interest that are popping up this week. So you got to stay involved in what's going on at City Hall. You can be a part of this e-blast I send out. Just message me direct on the BrockCast SA on Facebook, and I'll add your email into this to receive this newsletter. So two big items I know that are coming up. Tomorrow in the B session, so City Council meets, in case you didn't know this, every Wednesday and Thursday, 3 weeks out of the month. So tomorrow is called B session. It's a Wednesday at 2 o'clock meeting downtown at the Municipal Plaza. And they go over future agenda items, right? Things they're going to discuss and vote on in the future. And the A session is the actual big show, man. It's the meeting. Everybody puts on their suits. Everybody looks nice and neat. And they show up downtown at City Hall at 9 a.m. and they conduct the regular business of the San Antonio City Council, which all the voting occurs. All the debate ends up with the final vote at an A session. So you have two sessions. B session on a Wednesday, A session on a Thursday, and that's how the city conducts its business. There's a bunch of committee meetings that occur throughout the month as well. You have to stay involved in what's happening at the tiniest committee meetings because that's when the legislation creeps up, and before you know it, they're voting on something that pisses you off, right? So you have to stay involved in every little thing. That's what On Deck at City Hall is about. I like to distribute this. It's actually in color when I send it out. Right now it's black and white. But I'll send this out, and it's got, look, that's a lot of writing on there. And if you really have problems with insomnia, I'm pretty sure this may put you to sleep. This is a sleep aid right here. Let me get that level. There it is right there. So let me read you a couple of highlights right here. So Pre-K for SA is up for a debate tomorrow at Wednesday's B session at 2 o'clock. They're going to discuss its future goals, 2020, and Pre-K is up for a reauthorization vote this year. The City Council starts to engage that tomorrow, 2 o'clock p.m. Be on the lookout. It's coming. Also tomorrow at the B session is City Council aides, staff aides, compensation reviews. So I don't know if you knew this, but the City Council, each City Council office has a budget of about $400,000, I think it's more now, for staff and other resources and things that are going on in the team. So a City Council member can have anywhere from 4 to up to 7, 8, 9, or 10 employees working for a City Council member. So, and that money, then you can divvy it up as you want for your council aides, your staff. So when I was on the City Council, I had 6 people working for me, and I divvied up that money individually based on experience and things like that. I had a chief of staff and other folks that I paid a little more to, and then we had interns and other groups that we paid a little less to. Well, Councilmember Roberto Trevino has been fighting for a couple of years now to increase council pay for the aides. So in doing so, and I don't know if you knew this, but council aides, all those people you see in the council offices across the 10 districts, those are contract employees. They work on a contract. They are not regular members of the city of San Antonio. They're not regular employees. They have benefits and things, but they are contract employees of the council member. And they require additional pay. Council aides work, and I've been a council. I was a chief of staff in the past, a constituent services manager a lot of years ago. I'm warning you right now, it was more than 10 years ago. But I've done the work in the past, and it's a lot of work, right? So you're working probably 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You're representing your council member out in the community everywhere, and you're doing a lot of different things. And these are full-time jobs. They're greater than full-time. There is no overtime or anything. So Councilmember Trevino has been fighting for a couple of years to try to elevate their pay and benefits so that they're on par with city staff and other employees of the regular city machine, right? The city of San Antonio itself. That's up for a talk tomorrow as well. And it's going to be interesting because if you know anything about employment law, when you are a contract employee, you are under a different set of rules than a regular W-2 employee of the city of San Antonio. They're separate, right? The council aide doesn't have the protections of human resources the same way a city of San Antonio employee does. They're paid differently. It's an interesting debate. And the city could be at exposure for the fact they're overworking council aides without money or pay for overtime and other things like that. So it's going to be an interesting debate with council aides. Be on the lookout for it. I think you're going to see some changes to the council aide compensation and pay program. And then on the governance committee's meeting tomorrow as well, 10 o'clock. So governance, this is really exciting stuff, I know. But governance is the mayor's team of council members he appoints. There's 4 or 5 members on the council committee. I don't know how many are on it right now. But they decide what gets pushed out to committees and ultimately what makes it to city council. The governance committee is meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. to talk about a renters commission. Right? So it's a commission, again, sponsored by Councilmember Trevino. The council member can put these items on an agenda for possible review. The Renters Commission is designed to protect renters across the city of San Antonio with legal help and support to kind of curb this ongoing eviction crisis we're having in San Antonio when it comes to housing. So we'll dig a little bit more into that in the future. But tomorrow, the Renters Commission is up at 10 a.m. in the Governments Committee to see if that's going to get pushed forward for further debate. And then there's some ethics code amendments as well tomorrow. So that will be reviewed at governance at 10 a.m. downtown at City Hall. If you're for some reason completely bored and you want to show up and hang out with council members and listen to them talk, you can go down to City Hall's down there Municipal Plaza and join in these wonderful meetings. Hopefully they're live streaming them. I think they are. Not sure about governance though, but B session and A session do get live streamed. You can watch them on TVSA. Keep an eye out for it. It's huge. It matters. That's on deck at City Hall. We've got some updates here. Look at that Iran update. Let's make sure we bring up the image number 6. What do we got right there? For Iran, do we have anything? All right. Protests continue in the second day in Tehran. Here's some quick hits from across the globe. Protests continue in the second day in Tehran after Iran admits it mistakenly shot down a plane. You know what? The Iranians got themselves in a world of hurt. They blinked. They missed. They launched some some ballistic missiles across the border into Iraq. Both sides back down. I get it. Don't want to get into a war. Frankly, Tehran made the right decision because they would have been obliterated off the face of the planet. So it makes sense to not get into the fight. But then they shot down this plane and broke in the news. And I tell you what, the citizens of Tehran, if you can actually call them citizens because of the gross laws they have in place that keep people's rights down. Iran is a human rights violating machine. And it's funny. I'm going to say funny, but it's odd to watch Democrats defend Tehran, right, and really think about what's going on. Certain Democratic candidates have really not said much about the way Tehran, for instance, in Iran, LGBTQ people have 0 rights. In fact, they're executed. But yet you see Democrats, candidates defending them. You actually see some people in Hollywood apologizing for Iran. I don't get that. These people murder LGBT citizens in their own country because of their laws. So we have to think about that, and let's hope those protests continue and the lights get shined on that. But it's a good thing they didn't pick a fight with the United States. They tried a little bit, but look, they backed down because they would have been, they would have been obliterated. But we move on from that one. We'll see what the Donald has up with that. He held back, he restrained himself, didn't go after and retaliate. So there we are with that. Another one popped up here, number 7. Look at this little tidbit of information. It's the next one right there. It's a sad day. Cory Booker exits a Democratic primary once historic field gets less diverse. This is an interesting point. I wanted to make this one tonight. And both sides are guilty, Republicans and Democrats, of getting a good pool of people to run for office. Look, the president's the incumbent. He doesn't have, I think he's got a couple of challengers. They're nobodies. So the president's automatically going to get nominated. There's no worry on there. But when you have people running, diversity of talent, ideas, history, background matters. The Democrats have been bragging about their diversity from day one. And it turns out, you know what? It turns out that now they're going to be left. In fact, they're debating tonight. I don't think anybody even cares. But with Cory Booker left, we've lost Cory Booker, Kamala Harris. And I'll even throw out Julian Castro. I may not be the biggest fan of him, but he brought Latino diversity to the race. And now it's whittled itself down to pretty much Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren. Who am I missing? Bernie Sanders, crazy Uncle Sanders. And so we've got actually he's not. He's dominating the field right now. He's actually winning. Yeah, he's surging, right? Bernie Sanders is surging. And then we've got, right there it is, right there. Oh, that's from Salo right there. Okay, that's Salo, folks. Extended warranties telemarketer. What % did they get? 8. Come on, man. Come on. You know, plague, 14%. Rodents, 2. Come on, man. That's all. That's Salo. Look, he runs the show, man, behind the scenes. If he puts it up, I can't do anything about it. But it is a sad day. But seriously, though, there's no diversity in the Democratic Party. I think they talked to me. Well, look, Pete Buttigieg, as we know, is LGBT background and stuff like that. He's married. We get that. He brings the diversity of the LGBT community to the debate. But now we're down to the same things that they're trashing Republicans for on the Democratic side, which is a lack of diversity and people who don't really bring any difference of opinion. And I got to tell you, man, I may not like Julian Castro. I may have been watching that campaign on a death watch, but the Latino voice mattered. It's gone. And now we've lost Cory Booker. And to couple that with Kamala Harris gone, so we've lost that perspective. And you know what? They brought the fight. Cory Booker actually has a lot of passion for what he does. I'm not saying Spartacus is exactly the answer for our country or I'd vote for the guy. But look, he had passion. He showed up and he put it on the line. And he was a heck of a candidate, man. I mean, from a Democratic perspective, he could have brought a lot, but he caught no traction. So I don't know what that says about that party, right, at that particular time. It's like Julian Castro saying the party needs more diversity in Iowa. Then he went and endorsed Elizabeth Warren. So her diversity is 1,024th Native American. That's the extent of her diversity. But, Castro jumps on board with her. So it's gone, it's lost. Keep an eye out for it. I think it matters, man. It matters big time. Watch them. They got to practice what they preach. That's important. They got to practice what they preach. Don't scream lack of diversity at Republicans and they turn around and they're guilty of the same thing. Graphics 8 and 9 there with Donald Trump. Where are we at right there? We're running. We're almost there. We're almost done here. We got to get to our memes because we didn't get them last week. So what's the next graphic up we got right there with Trump? Okay, yeah, impeachment. So tomorrow they could be transmitting the articles of impeachment to the Senate. McConnell, I love this one, opens the door for Hunter Biden testimony at a Trump trial. That was today. You want to talk about total chaos, is Hunter Biden in the well of the Senate getting questioned about dad and his work with Burisma, because he had a hell of an oil and gas resume, and that's why he was making $50,000 a month. Oh, I'm sorry, he had none. He had no experience in oil and gas, but he was making $50,000 a month on the board of a Ukrainian oil and gas firm. But Dad knew nothing about it. Never talked to him about it. I tell you what, my dad knows everything I'm up to. I don't even talk to him, and he still knows sometimes, right? If I don't catch him for a couple of days, my dad knows. He still knows what I'm doing. In fact, he used to bust me when I would skip school at John Jay. Like, I would be driving down the road thinking I was cool, and my dad would be right behind me. He'd catch me. I'm like, man, these parents know everything. If you're a parent, you know what your kids are up to. Hunter Biden, you better tell the truth. You better. We're watching you. All right, McConnell opens the door. What's the next one we got right here? Okay, GOP leadership. There aren't 51 votes to dismiss the Trump articles of impeachment. There had been some talk that they were going to cut it off and vote it clean and end it. Not going to happen, not so fast, right? So there are Republicans who are saying, perhaps we need to hear from some additional witnesses. Maybe we should listen to both sides and allow the process to take place. Third impeachment in the history of our country. Are they going to follow a process and be fair? That's a question to hold against Republicans. They don't have the votes to dismiss it, which means there's at least a group of 4 or 5 that actually want to hear from additional witnesses too. Mitt Romney's leading that, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski. There are Republicans who are concerned. 51 votes are not there to kill it. The president is going to stand trial. It's coming as soon as next week. Made for TV right there, my friends. What's next? We got up on, Jack Wilson. I wanted to put this up there. Governor Abbott's first ever Medal of Courage was awarded to Jack Wilson. Of course, we know what Jack did within 6 seconds of a shooter up north opening fire in a church. Jack, within 6 seconds, put 2 in the guy and put him down and saved an inordinate, he could have saved dozens of lives in there, depending on what kind of armory this person had. I use that term loosely when he opened fire in a church, but the governor created this Medal of Courage, and Jack Wilson was awarded that. Huge props to that man. And then finally, good little tidbit right here. I want to talk about this one really briefly before we get into memes. Yeah, put it up. I'm a little disappointed in this one. Come on, Astros. Come on. Did Major League Baseball get their punishment against the Astros right? 5 takeaways from MLB's momentous Astros sign-stealing investigation. The Astros, of course, won that championship in 2017. They were busted, cold busted, videoing, stealing signs of the catcher This is an embarrassment. They kicked their general manager and the manager himself, Hinch, kicked him off for a year, suspended him. Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, told them they were suspended for 1 year, levied a $5 million fine, took draft picks in 2021, and then turned around and they fired him. So the owner of the Astros fired both the general manager and the manager himself. So they're looking for employment, looking for new work. But come on, Astros, man. And then it turns out that one of the Astros bench managers went and took over the head coaching job, Cora, of the Boston Red Sox, and took their sign-stealing tricks over there. This isn't done yet, but we have to talk. We had to talk about a minute on this one. Come on, Astros. You could have won it clean. You got Jose Altuve. You had Correa. You had all the method in place to get it done and win, but that little sign-stealing piece. I don't know if you read anything about this, but they were stealing the signs, and their communication method of doing it to relay to the batters and everybody else was to bang a trash can. One bang on the trash can was a strike. A fastball was nothing, A curveball off speed was 2 bangs on the trash can. Just bad news for Texas, bad news for the Houston Astros. Let's see what happens. They're going to clean that up, though, but they're going to be breaking down on it. They're going to break down on the rest of Major League Baseball. No more cheating. You can't deflate those footballs, Tom Brady. I'm sorry. I made a Patriots joke, because my Saints aren't in it anymore. Oh, do want to give mad props to the Louisiana State Tigers. Joe Burrow, Ed Ogeron. Big win. 42-25 last night. College football playoffs, national champions. Very proud. Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Let's go. Let's move right into memes. We'll get ready to wrap this sucker up. Let's get a jump start on this one. Ricky Gervais did not kill himself. Thank you from earlier. We've got your back, Ricky. We're watching. Oh, Ricky. Oh, I had to show this one, even though it's over. This one I can't stop laughing at. Trump talking to Siri. Where can I get a grilled queso and salami? Siri. Okay, sending a jet to kill salami. I can't even say it, man. I can't even say it. But look at the picture of Trump. He's trying to. Okay, maybe I'm the only one that finds that funny in San Antonio right now. But it is friggin' hilarious. And this one just matters. I think it's hilarious because this is potentially what's going on here. And look, if there was a Democrat president, we'd be making fun of Republicans. This is how it goes. Right now, the Republicans in office and the Democrats are freaking out. Right there. I just want to let people know in the 2020 timeline, you're at that screamer. Now, we're going to find out. We're going to find out what more there is to that. So I just thought this one was sent in. It was a little hilarious. 1969, man, riding around on choppers, dude. Easy Rider. 2020 scooters. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. And by the way, San Antonio can't even keep its scooters. Their companies are quitting and leaving San Antonio. I just love this one, too. When you don't know all the lyrics to a song, you just mumble nonsense. Ice, ice, pastry. If you're any child of the 80s or even the 90s and a child of bad music and one-hit wonders, Vanilla Ice. Ice, ice, pastry. This is true. If you have kids, especially little boys, who would win this? The strongest part of the human body reinforced with 26 bones is the foot or one bricky boy. I can tell you right now, if you step on a Lego, you're screaming like a baby. I tell you who wins that one. That one does. And this one right here, Netflix playing previews automatically. Salo, you have Netflix? Yes. If you were downstairs, look, my wife goes to bed a little earlier than I do. I stay up late. I'm always cruising Netflix. And when it comes on, it does the preview. It's always super loud and freaks everybody out in the house. What is up with that Netflix? Come on. Netflix, fix that. And by the way, is anybody watching Servant? You. These are good shows to be live streaming. You is on Netflix, Servant's on Apple TV. My wife, all these things are huge. They're great shows. Servant, it will freak you out. It's on Apple TV. Servant. Okay, next. What do we got here? Okay, I love this one right here. This is true. If you ever feel useless, just remember that there's a lifeguard at the swimming Olympics. Look at that. Looks like a member of the San Antonio City Council. Go back real quick. Go back. That lifeguard looks like a member of the San Antonio City Council. All right, I'm just kidding. Next. If you don't stop lying, you'll grow up to be a reporter for CNN. Okay, that one speaks for itself. Next. Hey, a bunch of free stuff going around. And then this one, of course, Ricky Gervais's Hitman. Right? Opening monologue like, Ricky Gervais, you're a dead man walking. He is. He really is. Salo, that one's for you and me. As we get older, we want to join the military to defend our country, but we got a small problem with the panza. With our panza, we have no chanza. We have no chance with the San Antonio Panza of getting drafted, Salo, you and I, of getting drafted into the military. It's over for us, but that's okay. We'll support from afar with donations and other stuff. America, you can't do a damn thing. Your general missed his flight. You got to always show this cat. He's amazing. And this one's for my spouse, Annalisa Brockhouse. My computer died, so I can't see her texting me, telling me to behave. Me getting ready for a one-night trip. That's totally my wife. That's for you. Okay, so, what is this one? For me here. When you get the memes from the Dollar Tree. Look at that sad cat. Hey, that knife has a knife and a fork. That's a sad cat. All right, Salo. All right, you get it. Fine. Was that a General Soleimani one before we wrap up? Guess who quit smoking? Hey, he's joking. I can destroy America with one hand. Good, because that's all of you. The show is going downhill. Okay, look, we got to stop. Some people think memes are offensive. Dude, you got to laugh at life. The meme is a wonderful. I love the smell of uranium. Okay, hold on. Do not underestimate the Iranian military. They launched $100 million worth of missiles, killed 2 chickens, and spooked the camp. I'm sorry. Okay, I broke up the Beatles. Hold my beer. No, that's it. We're going to end on that one. We're stopping on that one right there. Meghan Markle is Meghan Markle. I broke up the Beatles. Hold my beer. That hurts. That hurts so many. Okay, Salo, you outdid yourself with that one. All right, okay. Oh my God, dude. It's a match. We've gone off the rails, man. All right. Look, I'm telling my wife right now, and his wife. It's all Salo right there at the end. All right. Look, we got a show. We got to wrap it up. Oh my gosh. Hold my beer. That will forever live in meme infamy. You got to laugh at yourself, people. You have to. Because look, we can disagree on some things. We can have some issues and some debates. We can talk about pre-K, Connect SA, the boring city council. There's no fun down there anymore. They're spending our billions. It's out of control. We get it, man. Your taxes are too high. Your sauce rates are out of control. CPS Energy's charging you too much money. But at the end of the day, we got to vote. We got to get out there, put it on the line. We got to say some things that matter. Don't snowflake out on us, right? Yes, it's almost 80 degrees in San Antonio this week for some crazy reason in the middle of January. But that's who we are, man. You got to love this city. You got to get involved and make things happen. Get into the debate, get into the fight and argument, and then try to part friends. And if you can't part friends, all right, well, whatever. Then we'll just part differences and respect each other for having something a little bit opposite or different from each other. That's okay. Next week, we're going to have the Deputy Sheriff's Association come on. We're going to talk about things at Bexar County. We're going to dig a little deeper into that. We're going to talk about pre-K soon in the future. We're going to find out what Cheryl Sculley's up to at City Hall because we thought we moved past that, right? So that's special interest right there. What's going on down there? What's happening with Eric Walsh in the city manager role? Then what's going on at City Hall? We're going to dig into the council, Connect SA. We're going to try to hold people accountable, put out information. The BrockCast is all about liking it, sharing it, tag it, push the information. We are going to grow this in 2020. Be on the lookout. I've been promising a party, and a party's coming within the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks here. We're going to plan a big event, get out in the community and have a good time and do the show live out on the street somewhere. I'm looking for a restaurant. Shoot us some ideas. Let's make it happen. San Antonio, thank you. Like, share, tag. Always streaming YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. The BrockCast, as always, for January 14th, 8 o'clock p.m. the start time. We are now ending about 9:20, 9:30. We're a little over, but that means that the BrockCast is officially out.